What up? What up? What up, fellas? Welcome to another live stream, Memoir Men 15-day live stream challenge. We're on day 8, ladies and gentlemen. We're on day 8. We're more than halfway there. Out of 15 days, it's been great. This is such been a great journey for me. Just to be able to, bounce off and come out with different topics, just seeing the content develop as time goes on, seeing the format starting to develop as time goes on. I am excited about the podcast that's going to be on the back end, the tail end of this 15-day live stream, where we continue to discuss all things memoir men, all things that men go to. We take these conversations, we take these experiences, we take these things that we are going through in our lives, whether emotional, physical, or otherwise, and be able to hash them out. This is a place, this is an environment, this is a platform where men can actually come in, hash things out in a vulnerable yet safe space, and being able to, well, hash it out, chop it up, do that personal development, that professional, that relational development in a context where other brothers are just sharpening iron with one another. That's what Memoir Men is all about: reflection, introspection, progress, reflecting on experiences or where we are, where we find ourselves, doing some introspective work, digging some things that need to be digged out, dig deep into some things that we need to get rooted in for the sake of progress. I'm excited about our journey. Today, I wanted to talk about this silent killer. One of my coworkers kind of said that today when I went to work, kind of shared my little episode from yesterday. And I told him, I'm like, oh no, he said, that's the first thing he said, it's stress. I'm like, yeah, it's strange because I've been in places where, I've been in seasons in my life where I was dealing with some levels of stress. And the mental aspect was so weighty, so it was so strong that I felt a great physical response. But although I was having a lot of physical reactions, I knew it was because the things that I was going through mentally that really was taking a toll on my physical body. Whereas in the case of, scare, if you want to call it, from yesterday, I'm like, I've been feeling good. I'm in the education system. So we just came off a 2-week, break. I thought I was like ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Work has been challenging. But I mean, it's nothing different than any other day, number one. And number two, I'm fairly new in my position, but I've in over time created good systems to kind of keep me where I'm not overwhelmed or going over my head. I thought I was really entering a new space. Marriage wise, we've seen some lows, you know what I'm saying? And so where we are right now is nothing compared to where we've been at all. I'm enjoying, I was sharing with the live the other day about my son and spending time with him. Like everything is going well. Like I really don't feel stressed. Yet when he said that, he said it's stress. And I'm like, man, I don't really feel that stress. And he said, well, that's why they call it the silent killer. You don't even know it's there. But me, I'm just like, it didn't make sense to me because I'm usually aware of my emotions. You know what I'm saying? I'm aware. Am I upset? Am I frustrated? Am I annoyed? Am I dealing with? I'm usually aware. And so I was shocked to be in a situation because, he said it, but there was like something internally that kind of confirmed what he was saying, like I knew he wasn't lying. You know what I'm saying? How do they say it? My spirit resonated with that. But I mentally, cognitively, I was like, I hear you, but how? You know? And so that's what I wanted to talk about today in this live real quick, is just the hidden uh subconscious part of stress that even if we are emotionally aware people, we may not realize it unless we are truly paying attention to the signs. Obviously, yesterday, my signs were very physical. My body's going through a lot of challenging. I just didn't know that the issue was stress related. And there may be some other stuff there. Not maybe. I know that there's some other stuff there, right? But I do recognize how stress plays a role on um, the physical responses that my body is going through, but also the things that I'm doing behaviorally to cope with the stress that is also causing a disruption in my health, right? So that's two things going on. Stress causing a direct response, to my physical or my body responding to the stress I'm going through, but me behaving in ways that cause me to take on behaviors that or habits that also induces a physical response. Your boy love ice cream, especially after a hard week. But I didn't do it tonight, though. I didn't do it tonight. So I've been good. I've been good. So yeah, man, stress definitely can have a huge effect in your physical body, even when you're unaware. And so I had to be aware. I was aware of the palpitations or fluttering, whatever you call it, that was going on in my chest. Like I was not liking that at all, but it might be different for you. It might be tightness of your muscles, and you might not recognize it if you're just moving the body. Especially your body does adapt, right? So you might adapt to it and not even realize it, but then you touch a part of your body and like, man, why am I so sore there? You didn't realize that you were contracting and there was a contraction going there the entire time, right? Sleep disturbance, that's another one where I dealt with last night, having a hard time to sleep. Just to be totally transparent, why am I feel like I'll be sharing. I'm starting to realize that I'm sharing too much with y'all, but hey, safe space. So I think I may be dealing with the level of sleep apnea. The only real um the only real evidence I have of that is my wife complaining of my snoring. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. Um, and so after when I did go to the doctor, I shared that with him, and he's referring me to go do a sleep study, so I can see what's going on. Because he said that whatever is going on, the blood pressure starting to increase and all of that can be due to poor sleeping. And so if I can address that and actually be in a situation where I can get a good night's sleep, maybe that will decrease. That might be why I'm stressed. So like my everyday life may very well be, great and I really have no issues, but because I'm not getting the rest that I really need, my body is in this chronic state of not getting enough sleep. That could be it. That actually sounds sound, but we'll see after we do the sleep to study. I'll definitely share with you guys on that journey. So yeah, man, physical cues can affect you, mental cues can affect you, and this is one thing that I realized too. Even after kind of doing some research after the fact, right, and looking at some things like, man, like there's some things that is here that I haven't been realizing. It is the way that you cope with stress. Like, how do you cope with stress? Do you take time to relax? Do you take time? Do you have a kind of like a relaxation strategy that you do, right? Things to distract you from like the real everyday life stuff. So like, what is that? What are those things that you do? Do you prioritize rest? I had a group of guys, and I share this with you guys. I meet with this group every morning on a phone call, and we spend a lot of time talking about prioritizing stress and how important that is, because we're always on the go, 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 go. And we're always like looking to the next thing. A lot of these guys are leaders, visionaries. You know what I'm saying? Like they are like entrepreneurs. We got people that are in the military or were in the military. Like we have the whole kind of gamut with the fellas that get on the call, and we're most of our mentalities are so go go go, that we don't take the time to really prioritize and recognize the importance of rest. We think that rest is uh, counterproductive, when in fact rest is essential. And so, do you have ways that you rest besides just going to sleep at night? Are you getting enough sleep? Those things that we normally hear, very important, very, very important. I'm realizing that I may not be getting enough, and it may not be intentional if I'm not getting the sleep that I can because of some sort of condition. So we'll find out. Again, I'll let you guys know about that. But going back to that whole coping thing, I realized that a lot of times I'm gonna tell you this, I don't recognize the stress. Like, I'm not conscious of stress, but I realize I do have behaviors that I simply was assumed. I call it just vegging, right? I'll just come to work, and sometimes I'll crash. I'll come home and watch a bunch of shows, and the biggest one is my phone. The biggest one is my phone. And I got these little games, I got these little apps where I just play, and I can play, wanting to play just for a short couple of minutes and end up being 10, 20, 30 minutes at times, you know, and I just have to move on. But these are things that I realize now. I used to think that there were moments of, all right, let me just kind of vibe. This is my relaxing moment. But I realized that those are things that I do in order to distract myself of the stress that I have just endured. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm going to work, doing my thing. I don't feel stressed. People ask me, how was your day? Oh, it was a good day. It was great. I genuinely feel great. But then I come home, and then, like, I'm on the games, on the phone, playing games, on apps for a good 30, 45 minutes or whatever the case is. And I am not aware of the fact that the reason why I'm doing this is because I mentally don't want to deal with the stress that I've either just endured or is currently enduring. And so I realized, instead of that being a place of me, yeah, this is just my, what I'm saying, my chill time, I'm just messing around with the phone. I realize now that it is a way to distract myself, a way to cope. So if I do that, then I'm not really dealing with the stress. My wife has actually been, I'm actually thinking about this right now at this moment, don't you just hate when she right? Because she be telling me, I'm like, because I would watch a lot of UFC now. I'm not saying nothing wrong with UFC. I think I'm getting the right amount of consumption when it comes to my Ultimate Fighting Championship viewership, for the most part. But I do watch, like, instead of just the fights, I'll sometimes watch commentary on the fight. So I'm on YouTube constantly watching commentary on fights, guys that's coming up, fights that are coming soon, talking about the different strategies of the different fighters and their tech, whatever. Like, it goes on for a while. And so I'll find myself, especially late at night, just watching the YouTube videos, having the earbuds in my ear, even laying in bed sometimes with it on. So not giving myself that downtime, that time to, like, woosah, that time to, like, start to settle my body so that I can rest for the night. I'm still consuming things, right? Definitely something that is, number one, not allowing me to rest. So I'm not prioritizing rest, but also, more importantly, not dealing with the stress itself, right? Finding ways to relax my body mentally and physically and spiritually is one thing, but it's another thing to not deal with the stress itself. Like, what is it that's stressing me out? What is it that got me, like, what I'm saying, mentally and emotionally so worn? Like, what is it? Because if I don't deal with those, there will continue to be stressors. So I can relax all I want, get as rest, sleep is all I want. I still can't combat the stress, because things can be stressful, but there's ways besides just the rest and the meditation and all of that we need to do to combat the stress. There are things we can do in the stressful environment to decrease some stress. Sometimes it could be as easy as delegating tasks. It can be as easy as creating a structure that's autonomic so that you don't have to deal with five, six, seven things on your plate at the same time. And so it's important to not only do things to kind of calm your body mentally and physically, but also what am I doing to deal with the stress? These are things that I'm really emphasizing now. It's not like I didn't know about it before, but because of the things that's been going on lately, I recognize that yeah, this is something that definitely needs to be revisited, something that needs to be focused on. You know what I'm saying? And there are needs to be habits that I do implement in my life so that I can, you know what I'm saying, be in a healthy space. So I can be there for my family, so I can be there for my wife, so I can be there to at work and not burn out and to be able to be the person that God called me to be, right? All for the sake of progress, living out my purpose, giving God the glory. You know what I'm saying? So the two things that I realized that I need to do, and I think I've already kind of talked about it, so I won't hash it out too much, but I just want to emphasize one more time, prioritizing stress, right? And the second thing is those stress relieving activities. So instead of you pacifying myself with the YouTube watching and the game playing on the phone, I need to actually take those time instead of coping and being a distraction, actually use that time to create stress relieving practices, right? So people talk about meditation. Is definitely something I want to do, and I did that at one point. Not like meditate, like woosah. I mean, I guess you can do that too. But the meditating that I did was I would just right before the sun sets, right, that evening time, right when the sun is starting to go down, I'll take a sheet and go out in the backyard, sit on the grass, and just sit on the sheet on the grass and just chill. That's one place that I do find peace is in nature. You know what I'm saying? So being there in front of there's a man-made lake in the back, and so I can sit down on the grass. You know what I'm saying? Breathe that grass, and got the lake right there. Listening to the waves crashing. Feeling the breeze on my skin. Seeing the glaring of the sun. The sky starts to change, beautiful colors like purple and dark blues and light blues and reds and oranges. You know what I'm saying? And so that whole scene, and for me, there's nothing like it. Well, besides seeing my wife in that scene, that's like perfect, right? Um, but yeah, just being in that space where I can just vibe. Sometimes I meditate, sometimes something will come into my mind, sometimes Holy Spirit may even inspire me. But really most of the time it's just chilling. I definitely got to go back to that. Like I totally just had a whole experience, even right now as I'm talking to you on the live, because of that. So I definitely want to go back to that. So that's the one thing I want to do is to adopt some stress relieving practices that kind of like mindfulness, being aware of where I am in that space, but definitely having that meditation, that time of just settling, that time of stillness, that time of quietness, you know what I'm saying? And start to realize even physical tensions and just breathe through those things and try to relax myself. And then, like I said, prioritizing rest, making it a important part to rest, even whether through the day, but especially at night, getting good night's sleep. So I'm definitely gonna have to go long-term purposes, go and get that sleep study done. But even in the short term, unplugging earlier, do my devotional time in prayer, and just kind of relax because I can't be having my heart beating out my chest. That freaks the heck out of me, man. I feel my life. Like I'm aware that I am a mortal person that can be gone out of this place at any moment in time. With those who deal with great anxiety and deal with what I'm talking about. Like it's just beating so hard. You're like, am I gonna make it through the night? Not funny. But yeah, that doesn't have to be. Most of it can be, I think, dealt with by simply changing my patterns. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to share that journey with you. I encourage you, fellas, to also find areas in your life where you are dealing with a level of stress that you may not even be aware of. And you may not be aware of, you may be aware of it because of symptoms, right? It could be physical symptoms, mental systems, just being burnt out, being forgetful, right? There's things that you start, things that you start to realize, man, I didn't used to do this. Why I'm doing this all of a sudden? Like, why am I forgetting all of a sudden? Like there are reasons behind it. And it could simply be stress, physical responses. But it could be other things, distraction. What are some behaviors, some habits are you starting to develop that you didn't have before? That might itself might be an indication. So we might not see the stress. We might not know what the stresses are. It might be easier sometimes to see the symptoms, and the symptoms will then lead us to where the stress is. Let's talk about that. Do what do you find? Do you know those stresses in your life? Share those. Share those on the comments, man. Just write down what it is. You know what I'm saying? Just for you, maybe, so that we can explore that. But really for other people, other fellas that like may have the, oh wow, I didn't even realize that. But I looked in the comments and I saw this dude stressing with this, and I realized, man, that's an area for me too. So that'll be an awesome way to be helpful to others. But it may not be the stressors that you recognize, it may be the symptoms. What are some of those symptoms that you recognizing? Those physical stressors, those mental stressors, or responses rather, and or even what are some practices, some distractions, some coping mechanisms that you may use that wasn't a part of your life before, but you realize you're starting to get in the habit of doing, like overeating, playing in the game, going to sleep really late, having more arguments with people that you normally don't have arguments with. Like, share those things as well, so that we all can kind of reflect on them, do some introspective work for the sake of progress. Again, guys, I enjoy being on a live with you guys. I pray that you guys have an awesome night, an awesome weekend. Get some rest. Let's prioritize rest this weekend, and so that when we get on the live on next week, well, I'll be on again tomorrow. Sunday I'll take a day off, and then on Monday we'll get back on the live again. So I should have a good talk tomorrow. And then we'll close out the weekend with that, and then we can come Monday strong. But during the weekend, let's get some rest, fellas. Let's do whatever tasks we need to do that we don't get to do on Sundays, but let us compartmentalize them and make time for rest. Because stress is a silent killer, all right? And it can have a big emotional reaction, and sometimes not. Sometimes there is no big emotional reaction, but nonetheless is there, and it's impacting our lives in ways that we don't realize. So until next time, remember, fellas, no man leads alone. So let's work together, let's grow together, let's pray together, let's build together. All right? Y'all have an awesome weekend. Take care.